Ladies and gentlemen, knock yourself up. The Black Woman and Parthenogenesis. Long time coming. Here we go. Yeah, what's going on, party people in the place to be? I go by the name of the BK Apologist, transmitting all the way live. New York is the city, Brooklyn is the borough. What's good? What's popping? Thank you for hanging in there. I was working out some things in the background. Everything seems to be copacetic. Um, Guys, say what's up to the party people in the chat. We got Revelator 007. We got Chris Gibson, Brilliant Babes, the incredible, the indelible Nate 2D2. We got Shotty Ronks in the place. Big up yourself one time. You know what I mean? We got Tyler Lott, so but as always, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not already, please like, share, and subscribe. Please share this link to your local corners of the interwebs. Tell a friend to tell a friend that it's him again. If you like how it goes down with the BK Apologist, you can show your love via PayPal. Or if you'd like to be a monthly supporter of BK Apologist, you could become a patron where you could get an assortment of goodies to enhance your personal Bible study. So, that being said, we got my man Gianni in the building. What's going on, man? Yeah, man. Yeah, man. You already know what it is. So, without further ado, we have the sniper, one of the bodega ladies, here to do what she does best. And she's going to science the snot out of you. All right? It's the new. What's going on, sis?
Hey, BK. Hey, everyone. Happy Wednesday to everyone. It's good to be here tonight.
Yes, yes, yes. So, the new, what brings you by the channel? Like, what is it that you seem to want to discuss, because I think it's something that you've been wanting to discuss for some time, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes. This issue of parthenogenesis has attracted my soul, and I can't stop talking about it. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight.
yeah, if you ever been in the same Facebook groups, you will see that if anyone brings it up, it's an instant trigger for DNU. So, but yeah, so let's get to it,
hmm
right? So, but of course, we're going to start with some scripture. So, would you like me to?
I do. I do want you to be my reader, but I just want to start off by saying this first, BK, before we get into that.
Sure.
I want to say right off the top why we're doing this show tonight. Okay. We're doing this show tonight. This is something that we always say. We're doing this show tonight because ideas matter. Okay. Obviously this show is geared towards the conscious community, to those, with this disclaimer, to those who hold to this idea of the Black woman is God and parthenogenesis. So, the reason that we're doing this show is because, the conscious community, as we know, has presented their ideas for years, right? Relatively, not absolutely, but relatively uncontested, okay? They've had free range, teaching pseudo information, disparaging the Bible, talking about Christians, mocking Christians for what they believe. And they have been able to run rampant. And so, especially online. And so, with this verse, you can go ahead and read it, BK.
We are destroying arguments and all arrogance raising against the knowledge of God, and we are taking every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. Second
Mhm.
Corinthians 10, verse 5.
Yeah. So, this is why we're doing this show tonight. Okay. Because ideas matter and because we're responding. Okay. But, I also want to say that we're also doing this show because we want Christians to know, right? Maybe Christians who have been influenced maybe by conscious community ideas. We want them to know that there are answers. Don't leave Jesus because you didn't get good answers to your questions, right? How many times have we heard that people left Christianity
Right.
because they didn't get good answers? And so with that, let's go ahead and let's play the first clip, the video clip.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
They're going to come for me. They're going to come for you. They're going to come for you.
I'm
Mostly.
used to that. That's done. All right.
Faced with that loss, we could have a problem. I state that if the menses was cessated, if it stopped, if the blood loss and even the alkaline lactate loss was ceased and stopped, then not only would women be very strong, and they wouldn't be intuitive, they would be psychic, but they also could give birth to babies without a man being anywhere around. And there is the key to your problem and your problematic solution. You've bought into the coat lie, the white coat lie, the medical doctor's lie, which came about under a patriarchal system. If you start understanding the cadavers that were messed with in England and France at the turn of the 17th, 18th century, and experimentation still goes on. In fact, they, by law, are given under the caduceus the right to.
Can you turn the volume up a little bit, VK?
And the practice is upon, in many cases, you as females.
I'm trying.
Okay.
There was a theory called the Ovist theory, spelled O-V-I-S-T,
Is it louder?
pronounced Ah.
I think so. People in the chat were saying to
It
turn.
was proven, not postulated, I repeat, proven by Dr. Professor Jacques Loeb of Stanford University that the embryo develops from the egg alone and does not require spermatozoon. Did you hear what I just stated? According to Professor Loeb, you can make a developing embryo to become mitigated and go into first, second, and third trimesters of birth without the need of the male sperm under certain circumstances. The prevailing medical theory is one of epigenesis, and it says again that you must have the union of sperm and egg in order to produce and in order to get pregnant. Maybe. To start this and give it practicality, we have to go back to a basic concept that some people still are not sure about. I state that women had to have been created before men or formed before man, because you cannot get a man from a man. You cannot get a woman from a man, but you can get a man from a woman, and you can get a woman from a woman, and think about that. Any problem with that statement, that compound complex sentence? I don't have one. This is what the old church, the Church of England, and under King Constantine and the Bishop Eusebius, the Church of Rome, had to get rid of and had to change. The last honesty amongst Caucasian principalities dealing with Christianity, and especially Catholicism, came with the onset of the Greeks, who broke away into the Greek Orthodox Church because they got tired of the lies that were being formed and wanted to continue with some semblance of truth from the Greek society. The last time when the Caucasians told truth. The male cannot reproduce himself, the female can. What does that mean if carried to the furthest extent? It means that if the woman also could decide whether she was going to produce a male or a female, the race of man could cease to exist, as we now understand it, as a double gender. That, at one time on Earth, was a tremendous problem. The universal cosmic age
That's
theorem
good.
is that a cosmic egg was created.
All right.
Okay, so for those who may not be aware of who this is Delbert Blair. And so, we already did a show on this. Of course, that show centered on young Pharaoh. After doing that show, and continuing to interact online, I realized that this is such a prevalent claim made in the community. And so I felt like I needed to address it again. So, because here's what happens: you have people like we just heard, who are prominent and respected in a community, and I mean no disrespect either. Okay, just to be clear, but who sound sure and speak with confidence, who for some reason can acquire the title of doctor and not be a doctor. I have no clue how this happens, but who propagate this idea that Black women reproduced this way, and people just blindly believe and repeat these ideas. I listened to a series of videos on a YouTube channel. It was titled "The Black Woman is God," and the content creator was saying her bit. And I recognized what she was saying. She was literally repeating a talk from Delbert Blair. It's like she must have printed the transcript. She was reading it verbatim. And so, these ideas have traction and they influence. And so this is why we need to talk about it. So, we'll jump right into it. Let's do a quick recap of the claim. Some people might not be
Right.
aware of it. Okay.
To Carter C. Goodson, yes, it was Delbert Blair. That
Yeah.
was the person on the video. It was Delbert Blair. You was correct. All right, so let's get to it. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag, did you know? Before becoming indoctrinated, Black women have an ability to impregnate themselves without the help of anyone other than themselves. Black women can create semen in her bone marrow and secrete it out her parental glands through her periton duct directly into her vagina and impregnate herself. This process is called Parthenogenesis. We do not come from mammals. We are not mammals. Agree to disagree, I don't care, but just know this is a fact. And there was a time long ago where it was just Black women on the earth, which Black men come from, which then create the albino.
Yeah.
Hashtag the Black woman is God.
So, just a quick summary. This is the claim that, at one point in history that only Black women existed, and that, these women reproduced via parthenogenesis. Okay. How did they do this? They did this by making semen in their partheno gland, which is the Bartholin gland. We'll talk about that in just a moment. And they were able to impregnate themselves. Okay. So, very quickly, what is parthenogenesis? Parthenogenesis is a form of asexual reproduction. So basically, it's where one sex cell, and it's usually the female sex cell, on its own develops into the new offspring. Okay. There's no male sex cell involvement. There's no fertilization, just the female sex cell. Okay. So in humans, that would equate to an egg cell on its own developing into a viable baby. Okay. The thing we need to keep in mind when people make this claim, BK, is that they're saying that this occurred naturally and normally. Okay, they're not claiming that this was some irregular event or that it was random, that only some Black women did this. They're saying that all Black women reproduce
It was
this
the
way.
standard at the time.
Yes, absolutely. And their claim isn't that, that there was any type of genetic manipulation going on either. Okay. Their claim is that all Black women did this normatively. Okay. And that it was the way.
An organic phenomenon. Right.
Yes, that the Black woman produced new humans. Okay. Now, right away, we should see a problem with this, okay? This is really basic, but, in my humble opinion, I think that this claim totally is debunked with just this. And it's bizarre to me because it's really just a matter of looking closely at what parthenogenesis is, okay? Um, Every definition of parthenogenesis on the planet will tell you that it doesn't involve two sex cells, okay? It doesn't involve male and female. That's why no fertilization happens, okay? So, the moment you say that the Black woman produced semen, there's sperm cells in semen, okay? It's a different sex cell than an egg cell. It becomes not parthenogenesis, okay? It doesn't matter that you only have the Black woman, on the planet and involved in the scenario. You can't call it parthenogenesis because it's not, okay? And so, this is how you know that the claim is an emotional one, BK. It's not a claim or it's not a position that's satisfied by being learnt on the subject matter, and we're going to see that a little bit later. Okay, it just makes people feel good to say that the Black woman is God and that she reproduced this way, but it's not. With all due respect, it's not an intellectual position. We're going to see that tonight. Okay, so we already did a show on this. This is kind of like a part 2. So if you didn't see that show before, I suggest that people do that. But we're going to do this a little bit differently than we did the last show. I have found that in interacting with people, that there's common sound bites that people will say as their proof for parthenogenesis. And so I'm going to address some of these sound bites. And as I've been saying, the goal is to have these sound bites rest in peace for Christmas. Okay. So can you go to the next slide?
All right, now this is a little blurry, but I can read it. It says, "Did
Okay.
you know that women predate men? The oldest fossilized bones ever found were women. All of them were discovered in East Africa, Ethiopia to be exact. These women could reproduce asexual without the assistance of males. This was done by the how you say it again? Do you know?
The Bartholin gland.
Bartholin gland,
Mhm.
which women still possess to this day. Do, do you know women can produce semen in their bone marrow? Did you know that the X chromosome is 5 times larger than the Y chromosome? Women created us. Hashtag the Black woman is God."
Yeah. Okay. So BK, it's a little bit fascinating to me. These memes make these huge claims, right? And people just believe them blindly, but then, turn around and mock and accuse Christians of having blind faith. Okay. This meme requires, I will tell you right now, this meme requires huge amounts of faith. Okay. First of all, the bone marrow of which bones? Okay. The Black woman has bone marrow throughout her body. So semen comes from the bone marrow of which bone or bones? I asked someone that once and I'm still waiting for an answer. Okay. So is it the skull? Is it the ribs, like the Quran says? Okay. Is it the pelvis? Is it the spine? Which bone? And how does it get to the Bartholin gland? Like, what is the method of transport? What is the pathway of transport to the Bartholin gland? The thing that people need to realize is that when you make these kind of claims, there's now questions that need to be asked beyond the meme, okay? Because now we're talking about issues of anatomy and physiology. We need to know, how did this happen, okay? In relation to the Bartholin gland, I didn't really say very much about it on the last show, so I'll just say this: in the body, the what glands do is that they produce a substance and then they release that substance so it can perform a specific function. So there's 2 types of glands. There's endocrine glands and there's exocrine glands. And the difference between the two is that one utilizes a duct system, DUCT, duct system, or, like a piping, a tubule type of system, and the other one doesn't. It's ductless, okay? And so exocrine glands are the ones that utilize the duct system. So they produce the substance, and then the substance is released through a duct to wherever it's supposed to go, whether it stays inside the body or it's taken to the exterior of the body, okay? Now, Bartholin glands are exocrine. It's an exocrine gland, okay? So what it produces, or what they produce, because women have two of them, what they produce is mucus, okay? That mucus is produced in the gland and taken to a duct because it's exocrine, and that duct releases the mucus to the exterior of the body, okay? There's the Bartholin ducts lie on either side of the vaginal opening, okay? And so they secrete mucus. It functions for the purpose of lubrication for the area, okay? So let me repeat this. The Bartholin duct carries its content to the exterior of a woman's body, okay? So, even if we go with the claim that semen travels from the bone marrow and ends up in the Bartholin duct, the semen in the Bartholin duct would be transported to the exterior of the woman's body, not interior, not towards the uterus, not towards the fallopian tubes, which is where the semen needs to be. If a sperm is going to have an encounter with an egg, it's going to need to be in the fallopian tubes, okay? If this is the way that the Black woman ensured that the population would continue, this is going to be problematic, okay? It's a very poor reproductive strategy to have semen transported to the outside of a woman's body and away from the egg that it's supposed to link up with, okay? I just throw this out there. I think that the community should remove the Bartholin gland from this scenario. It doesn't help the claim in any way. Do you have any questions?
No. Well, I mean, right, where we're heading into some serious biology nerd talk, right? So brace yourself. It gets deeper. But also, I think this also destroys this myth of the stupid Christian, right? Because we're not talking philosophy. We're not talking ethereal spiritual matters. We're talking about observable science. That's all we're talking about right now. So you can't even throw, oh, you dumb Christian. We said a verse in the beginning, but right now this is all heavy biology talk right now. So it's kind of hard for you to try to refute this. I mean, this is actual science. Okay, so
It's the white man's science.
the white man. All right, here we go. Let's see some more white man science.
I have a couple more things to say about that meme, okay? Because we're gonna rest it in peace, okay? We're gonna rest it in peace.
You want me to go back to it, or?
Yeah, if you could, please.
Uh-huh.
So, this idea that the X chromosome is 5 times larger than the Y chromosome, therefore, women created men. There's women created men, or women created us. There's another meme that says women created men. Is a total non sequitur. Okay, the premise, the conclusion doesn't follow from the premises. Okay, the X chromosome doesn't even carry all of the information that's needed or required to create a man or to create us. Okay, there's other chromosomes involved too. Okay, so for example, eye color determination is done by a series of genes, but the main genes that are responsible are located on chromosome 15, okay? And so to say that the X chromosome is the only thing that a larger X chromosome is the only thing needed to create a man, and not consider the other chromosomes like chromosome 15, is foolish, okay? Can you go to the next slide? Next one. Yeah. Okay. So this is a slide from the National Human Genome Research Institute. And it shows us, we'll see on the next slide, the X chromosome isn't 5 times larger than the Y chromosomes. It's only 3 times larger. Um, you can go back to the previous slide to read that caption.
Oh, okay. Relative sizes of the X and Y chromosome in human Homo sapiens, mouse, musculus, and fly. I'm never going to try that one. Drawn to scale.
We can
Gene
stop
count.
there. Drawn to scale. That's fine. We don't have to read the whole thing. Drawn to
Okay.
scale. Okay.
Okay.
So it's not 5 times, and admittedly, some sources will tell, this is from 2014. Some sources will still tell you that it is 5 times larger, but I feel like the national, the National Human Genome Research Institute is a valid source. So there's that. Next slide, please. I want to go to this conversation that I had with a gentleman just a few months ago. These are current beliefs. These aren't, people used to believe this a long time ago, but not anymore ideas. These are current beliefs. Okay. And so, I'm not going to get into the whole exchange. You guys can read it as I'm speaking. But you can.
Actually, let's do some play acting. I'll be the individual and you be you. All right, just to make things a little bit more fun. Like, you see, actually, they took the concept from the original human, which is the African woman that reproduced asexually millions of years ago. African women didn't start making XY chromosomes until millions of years later, which is women and male. The first man was African that came from an African woman.
How did African women make Y chromosomes?
They produce sperm through which is called the Bartholin gland located within the walls of the vagina. Traces of semen was found in the bone marrow of all women tribe fossils that were over 2 million years old in Ethiopia.
Oh, do I have more? Hold on one second. Okay. Next one. Next slide.
All right. And I didn't say anything about a Y chromosome. I said XY chromosomes. Big difference. The woman carries 1,000 XX chromosomes, while the male XY only carries 200 chromosomes. And all those chromosomes don't even work. Go figure.
Okay. So pause. Okay. So we're gonna call this gentleman Bad Yellow. I named him Bad Yellow. Okay. And so very early on in this exchange, I realized he didn't know what he was talking about. Okay. And so I want you to go to the next slide. So everyone look at this slide right here. Okay. Sorry, go back, BK. Sorry, go back one more time. Can you read that again, please?
And I didn't say anything about a Y chromosome. I said XY chromosomes. Big difference. The woman carries 1,000 double X chromosomes, while the male XY only carries 200 chromosomes. And all of those chromosomes don't even work. Go figure.
Okay. So as we go to the next slide, this is what he's trying to regurgitate. What you just heard is this slide right here regurgitated. We're going to read this, but I just want to say that this is the problem. I want to show this phenomenon, what we call internet scholarship around this subject. Okay. Bad Yellow told me in another thread before he blocked me that he was a biology major. Okay. But there's some problems with that. Okay. Go ahead and read the slide, BK,
The
please.
Y chromosome, a chunk of genetic code that is unique to male mammals, isn't just physically smaller than the X, it also contains far fewer genes. The X has more than 1,000 genes, while the Y has fewer than 200, and most of them don't even work.
Okay. So, it's clear that Bad Yellow didn't know the difference between genes and chromosomes, which is fine. It's fine if you don't, but it's not fine if you're a biology major, which he said that he was. Okay. And it's also not fine if you are entering conversations about parthenogenesis and human reproduction. You're going to need to know some things. You're going to have some background knowledge about some things if you're going to be talking about human reproduction. At the very least, you're going to have to know that genes aren't chromosomes, okay? And as you can see, this source, and it's only 3 sentences. Okay. And just to be clear, this is his source. Like I asked him several times to, give me some evidence of what he was saying. And he finally produced this source. But as you can see, it's clearly referring to genes. But if you look at the previous slide, he calls it chromosomes. Okay. Genes aren't synonymous with chromosomes, just for the record. Genes are a portion of DNA that codes for protein, and chromosomes speak to the structure of DNA. So we're going to speak about that a little bit later, but chromosomes contain genes. They aren't genes. Okay. As well, if you know anything, which a biology major would, if you know anything about the subject, you would never make the statement. Can you go to the previous slide, BK? You would never make the statement that a woman carries 1,000 XX chromosomes and males carry 200. Women carry 1 X chromosome that they get from the mother and 1 chromosomes that they get from their father, for a total of 2 X chromosomes, not 1,000. Okay. And men carry 1 X chromosome that they get from their mother and 1 Y chromosome that they get from their father, not 200. Okay. This is internet scholarship and it's ludicrous. Okay. It in no way supports the Black woman reproducing via parthenogenesis. Next slide, if you don't have anything to say.
No, I'm good.
Okay. This is something that I come across all the time. I have no idea where it comes. I'll have you read the slide in a second, but I have no idea where this comes from. When people say XX chromosome and XY chromosome, like singular, as if it's the name of a single chromosome. Does this one show that? Yeah, it does. There's no such single chromosome called the XY chromosome. Okay. We have the X chromosome singular, and we have the Y chromosome singular. Again, there's no one chromosome called XX or called XY. This might be like something minute sounding or something simple to nitpick on, but I'm going to have you read this and I'm going to show why it will lead to more problems in just a moment. You can go ahead and read it.
The first human was a Black woman born near Ethiopia and Kenya. She reproduced asexually, birth without a man's sperm. No man needed to reproduce. This is before her chromosomes split, XXXY, creating a variation or different type of woman we call a man. Wow. Wait a minute.
This is
Ah,
why we're talking tonight.
created a variation or a different type of woman we call a man. Men are mutated females. Let me say it again. Men are mutated females. The XY chromosome is a mutation of XX, literally. The Black woman is God.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, so I just want to center on, I'm not going to say very much, this is kind of like the other means, but I just want to center on this statement. This is before her chromosomes split, okay? When we talk about chromosomes and chromosomes number, this is a discussion about what's called ploidy, Ploidy, ploidy. And ploidy is the number of sets of chromosomes in a cell. Okay, so humans are called diploid. We are diploid organisms. Diploid, die, two, right? Because in every cell of our body, we have two sets of chromosomes. We get one set from our mother and one set from our father. That's in every cell of our body besides our sex cells, okay? That's 46 chromosomes. In our sex chromosome, so in sperm cells and in egg cells, those are said to be haploid. Okay, there's only one set of chromosomes, so they have 23 chromosomes. So that when a sperm meets an egg, 23 plus 23, haploid plus haploid produces a diploid organism. Okay, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so this meme right here, if you look at it, it's indicating that the Black woman had four sets of chromosomes, XXXY. Okay. This meme is indicating that the Black woman was tetraploid. Okay. This is problematic because let's go to the next slide. Let's look at the problem. We can keep going. Well, this is the problem with tetraploidy in humans. Can you read that, BK?
Disease at a glance summary. Tetraploidy is an extremely rare chromosomal anomaly. Polyploidy,
Yeah.
when affected, an affected individual has four copies of each chromosome instead of two, resulting in a total of 92 chromosomes in each cell. The phenotype is severe with multiple congenital anomalies,
Anomalies.
anomalies, my goodness, including central nervous system, ocular, cardiac, renal, and or genital malformations and limb defects. Most patients show severe intrauterine,
Intrauterine.
my goodness, growth retardation, hypotonia, failure to thrive, and developmental delay. It is usually associated with miscarriage.
Okay. So to repeat, this meme is saying that prior to a woman, the Black woman's chromosome splitting, she was a tetraploid. Okay. As we can see, tetraploid individuals have multiple congenital anomalies. That means that they're born with a lot of abnormalities, okay? Central nervous system, ocular, that's vision, cardiac, heart, renal, kidney, and or genital malformations and limb defects, okay? Many patients show severe intrauterine growth, that is irregular growth, retardation, slow growth, hypotonia, failure to thrive, meaning you don't do well in the world, and developmental delay, meaning that's cognitive mental delay. Okay, so this meme is saying that the Black woman with these symptoms reproduced. I didn't really prepare much to say after this meme. I do want to say that, can you go to that slide?
Which one?
I think the next one. Yeah. So the person that I was interacting with on this slide said that what is, you're stupider than you look. Unfortunately, I don't think he knew about tetraploidy, but anyhow, I guess we can say neither here nor there. You can go to the next slide. Okay. So you can go ahead and you can read this slide, BK.
So this individual says the Y is actually a broken X, hence the fewer chromosomes.
And I think the next one as well. Mhm.
Uh, you miss a big point. X existed before the Y. You can only you only can create you only can create physical life through a womb of a woman. The X is four strands. The Y is three strands. Meaning really man comes from a woman. The biggest problem is you believe man, this is horrible. The biggest problem is you believers have amnesia and can't recognize the female creators because your false all male God has your heart and mind locked up. And Dean you says,
How or in what way is the X is 4 strands and the Y is 3 strands? Please explain this genetically since it's a genetic claim.
look at the X, which has 4 points. Look at the Y that has 3 points.
You're not explaining your claim. You essentially just repeated yourself and replaced the word strand with points. Do you have a base knowledge of genetics so that you can actually break down and explain what you typed, or no? My question is, how or in what way is the X is 4 strands and the Y is 3 strands?
This is not a claim. Chromosomes are real. The X chromosomes has 4 stems and the Y has 3 stems. The X has more DNA information because it has more stems than the Y. This is common sense. So he went from points to stems. Interesting.
Yes. Is there another slide or is that it? Okay,
That's
we
it.
can go back. Let's go back. Okay. So this claim and versions of it, I'll be honest, it's probably one of the worst to me. There's a lot of background information behind these memes that clearly the meme makers aren't aware of, and that's probably why it makes no sense. So let me just say a few things. Bear with me, please. Give me some grace. Bear with me. In order to talk about this, we're going to have to talk about a little bit about cells and the cell cycle, DNA, and chromosomes. Okay, this is that background information that you have to know when you're talking about things like this. Okay, can you go to the next slide?
Yep. All right, let's get
So
ready. Go ahead.
So we are made up of cells, and every cell in our body has DNA. Okay. The reason that we grow as humans isn't because each individual cell grows bigger and bigger and bigger. The reason we grow as humans is because cells divide. Okay. We acquire more cells by cell division. We're multicellular. Okay. So, all of us start out as one cell at conception. And then as adults, we're comprised of trillions and trillions and trillions of cells. Okay. It's amazing. It's almost like there's an intelligent designer behind this. Okay. And so the way that this happens, like I said, is by cell division. Cells divide to make more cells. Cell division is called mitosis. Okay. Can you go? We'll go back to this in a second. Next slide, please. So cells have what's called a cell cycle. Okay, so there's a sequence of stages, steps that happen for the life cycle of a cell. And so mitosis, which cell division, you can see that in yellow there. That is a part of the cell cycle. Okay, and it has 4 stages: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. Okay. As you can see, as I said, mitosis is a very, very small part of the cycle. And most of the cell cycle is spent in what's called interphase. That's the purple, green, and pink areas. That's called interphase. And that's where the cell is doing what it does. It's carrying out its functions, it's growing, it's synthesizing things, okay, like organelles and DNA, okay? So a cell has to do these things because the goal of cell division is to produce a daughter cell that's identical to the parent cell, okay? That's how you make more of the same cell, okay? Tracking so far, BK?
So far so good.
Okay. I'm trying to do this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to DNA in our cells also makes a copy of itself. That's called DNA replication. Okay. Let me say this very quickly. This is very, very simplified, but everything that I'm saying here, I have to say because of the ridiculousness of these memes. Okay. But structurally speaking, DNA exists as a double helix. Okay, again, very simplified, but it's a double-stranded spiral. Okay, almost like a twisted ladder configuration. We've maybe seen pictures. Actually, you can go to the next slide. Maybe there's that picture. Then yes. So this twisted ladder configuration. Okay. So what happens in DNA replication is that this double helix, these two strands, they separate from each other, okay? So that each of these strands, I don't have a pointer, I'm pointing at the screen. Each of these strands will become a template for synthesizing a new complementary strand of DNA, okay? And this is what it looks like. So basically, we have two strands that produce two copies, okay? And they're identical. This is what DNA replication is. Again, that's very simplified, okay? So this is key because when we start talking about chromosomes and, you know, that X-looking shape, that we've all seen, that's simply replicated DNA in chromosome form. So let me say what a chromosome is. A chromosome is, our chromosomes are highly condensed and coiled and compacted DNA plus protein. Okay. We have a lot of DNA in our cells. Okay. If we were to extract the DNA from just one cell and stretch it out, it would be around 6 feet in length. That's one cell. Remember, I said that we have trillions and trillions of cells. Okay. And so, you know, that's a lot of stuff to keep in such a small space. And it's a lot of stuff that has to be transferred to another cell, to a daughter cell. Okay, let's go back to, I think the next slide will be the cell cycle. Okay, so remember what I said a few moments ago, that we have synthesis and replication of DNA in interphase. That is the purple, green, and pink area. That's where it's the green area where synthesis and replication of DNA happens. Okay, and so bear with me, I'm almost done. It's important. And so this is important to know because as I said, remember, chromosomes happen with cell division. Okay, it's important to know because every picture that you've ever seen of a chromosome in your life, when you see chromosomes in textbooks or online, these images are taken during cell division, during this yellow area. Okay. And it's typically, those pictures, those images that we see are typically in the second phase, metaphase. Okay. It's a very brief and very transient stage of cell division, meaning it doesn't last long. Next slide. In to mitosis, is that somewhere there? Okay. So, you know, metaphase is what I just talked about. You see the X shape there, but by the third, this diagram includes interphase as one of the phases. Okay. When I say the phases of mitosis, I'm saying prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. Okay. But at anaphase, you can see there that we're no longer in this X formation, right? What's starting to happen is that, you know, for lack of a better term, just flow with me, each side of the X begins to pull apart. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Each side of the X begins to pull apart. Again, because the goal of cell division is to produce a daughter cell that has the same genetic information as the parent cell. And so you have this pulling apart of the chromosome. That's how both cells end up with the same information, okay? What this means, BK, is that, the chromosomes that we're used to seeing in pictures and those chromosomes that these parthenogenesis memes can't stop talking about, it's not a permanent structure in our cell. If a cell isn't dividing, you don't have this chromosome structure, okay? And so, let's go to the next slide, Dr. Peter. You can go ahead and read that.
Dr. Peter Fraser of the Barberham Institute explains, quote, the image of a chromosome, an X-shaped blob of DNA, is familiar to many, but this microscopic portrait of a chromosome actually shows a structure that occurs only transiently in cells, at a point when they are just about to divide. The vast majority of cells in the organism have finished dividing, and their chromosomes don't look anything like the X shape. Chromosomes in these cells exist in a very different form, and so far it has been impossible to create an accurate picture of their structure.
Okay. So I said all that and I showed all that and I explained all that to say this. People who make these kind of claims to advocate for parthenogenesis, that the X chromosome looks like a literal X in our cells, or that the Y chromosome is really a broken X chromosome, they're incorrect. That's all I wanted to say. They're incorrect. And so let's go to the
So
next slide.
so real quick, so
Yeah.
so that's not the that's kind of like going into a movie theater and catching the movie at like the end. So you're
It's like,
missing all the context that helps you to understand the movie.
absolutely.
Ah,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
But the way that they speak about it is that
That's the whole movie.
that's the
That one
whole
scene is the whole
movie.
movie.
And
And you're
everything,
and
the
you're
whole
too dumb to know that, Dean. You that the whole scene is
I sound and look dumb. The two things.
right.
Yeah. Okay, so I just want to show some actual images. Let me take that back. Let me just show some images and we're going to read these captions. These captions are important. So, this is a human X and Y chromosome with a scanning via a scanning electron microscope. Okay. Um, you can read that.
Human X and Y chromosomes, colored scanning electron micrograph. Each chromosome has replicated to form an identical copy or chromatid, chrom-
Chromatid.
chromatid to which it is joined. The combination of sex chromosomes inherited during fertilization determines a person's sex. Males inherit an X left and a Y right chromosome, as seen here, whilst females inherit two copies of the X chromosome. The Y chromosome carries instructions for the development of male characteristics. The sex chromosomes are one pair of 23 present in most cells of the body. Chromosomes contain the genetic material DNA.
Okay. So just quickly go back to that, BK. I just want people to see that. This is an actual image. Okay. You can see that the Y chromosome looks nothing like the letter Y of the English alphabet. Okay. Um, next, please. Okay. Okay. Please note X and Y chromosomes concept.
Hmm.
This is a concept, okay? This is not taken from an image underneath a microscope. For people who think that the X and Y chromosomes look like the letters X and Y, this is concept. Next slide, please. You can read it.
Caption: Male sex chromosomes. Conceptual representation of the X and Y chromosomes of a human male. Here, the Y chromosome at right has been altered in shape and size to appear much larger than the Y shape than it really is. Every human cell has 46 chromosomes, of which 22 pair are identical in both male and females. However, in males, the last pair is composed of an X left and a much smaller Y chromosome, while females have two chromosomes, chromosomes carry genetic information in the form of genes, and the sex chromosomes carry the genes which control sexual development.
Thank you. Next slide. X and Y chromosomes illustration. Not a micrograph, okay? See how that looks like the letters X and Y? It's an illustration. Next
Mm,
slide. Male human sex chromosome. Guess what? This is with a scanning electron microscope. So this is a scanning electron micrograph.
mm.
Y looks nothing like a Y, the letter Y. Okay. And remember, this is replicated DNA. Okay. Next slide. Is there one? That's fine. You don't have to read that.
All right.
What's the next slide? Okay. So, this is what I'm concluding with. I hope that even if I look and I sound dumb, I was able to convey to you tonight, BK, why these sound bites are one, ridiculous, and two, don't work in real life. Okay. As I said close to the top of the show, it takes a lot of faith, and we can call it blind faith to believe in this, especially when you consider these sound bites. So, I don't have enough faith to, one, be an atheist, and I don't have enough faith to subscribe to this idea of the Black woman is God and Parthenogenesis. I'm just going to go ahead and just have faith in Jesus. That's just what I'm going to do. Okay. That's it. That's all I
No,
have to say.
that was amazing. But it's a recurring theme, whether it's science claims or scriptural claims. Context is key,
Hmm.
right? That's what we learned again tonight. That when you actually go and define what these things really are, and just take some time and look. Like, we actually had a chance to look at actual scans of the quote unquote X and Y chromosomes, and we saw that they don't look like those things because we observed it. We actually have a scan of the actual things, and there you go.
Yeah.
So you know, but I got a couple things I would like to share before we're out of here, and it's from Sex and Antiquity: Exploring Gender and Sexuality in the Ancient World. And it says here, male sexuality is the dominant force for fertility in the ancient Near East mythology. Okay, now remember, parthenogenesis is all about the women, right, creating life. But in the A&E, it's male sexuality that does that. It is associated with baseline creation, either of reality itself or of the natural phenomenon constituting the world. In Egypt, the male instigation of cosmogony is expressed in the old Egyptian pyramid text spell 527, wherein creation commences with the god Atum. Quote, Atum evolved, growing itaphilic in Heliopolis. He put his penis in his grasp that he might make orgasm with it, and the two siblings were born, right? Shu and Tefnut. No women. It is the male deity that creates, right? In Mesopotamia, although cosmogony per se is consistently heterosexual, the masculine nature of fertility is nevertheless expressed in the exploits of some particularly creative deities, most notably the god of fresh water, Enki. Enki was remarkable for his phallic fertility, giving rise to fertilizing waters, vegetal, animal, and human divine abundance. Again, Egypt, Mesopotamia, it is the male deities that give birth, not the females. Okay? Males then are the source of new life in A&E ideologies, be that vegetal life or divine reproduction. Nevertheless, the basic understanding was that both sexes were required for human creation or reproduction. Male seed semen gave the spark of new life, but the female body was needed to mold that seed into a human being. This notion comes across strongly in two Mesopotamian myths featuring once again the god Enki, Aratahas, and Enki and Nima. So again, in this is before antiquity. This is the ancient Near East, and it's there is no parthenogenesis going on here when it comes to the deities. It's the males. It's the male that is, and especially in Kemet, it's the male that gets to be the creator god, not the female gods, right? And former in the former dating the old Babylonian period, the deities decide to create humans to labor for them. Enki summons Nintu, the womb goddess, to create humanity, but the goddess counters that Enki must first provide her with purified clay. In this act, Enki infuses his quote unquote water, the Mesopotamian equivalent of semen, into the matter of creation. Furthermore, the god Getusi is slaughtered and his blood is mixed with the clay, also infusing it with life. Thus, male liquids cause the inert clay to live. However, once the clay is properly invigorated, Nintu, either by herself or with the help of birth goddesses, forms the clay into human females and males who henceforth will reproduce themselves sexually. Now, we're going to look at theogony by Hesiod. In the theogony, Hesiod mentions several forms of reproduction used by the gods, including parthenogenesis. While the first beings, Chasm, Earth, Tartarus, and Eros, come into existence spontaneously, the first form of procreation described is parthenogenesis. So we don't get into parthenogenesis until we get into Greco-Roman mythology. You do not find parthenogenesis in the ancient Near East. You don't find it in Egypt. You don't find it in Mesopotamia. But you do find it with who? Dun, 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 the white man. I mean, you know, I, once again, you know, because they try to make it sound like this is this deep indigenous African phenomenon. You don't find it there. You know, ancient Kemet, they always talk about Kemet. You don't find it in Kemet. You you know who you do find making everything in Kemet? The men, the male deities,
the
right?
the patriarchy.
Saying it's alive and well in the ancient Near East. So, but you don't really hear about parthenogenesis until you get into Greco-Roman mythology. So, just wanted to add that.
Hmm.
So, man, Dean, you definitely went heavy, heavy with the science, and we definitely appreciate that. And we have to do that, right? If it's when it comes to science, when it comes to the Bible, we have to dig deeper and understand the context. Because once you do that, now you know who knows what they're talking about and who's just talking a lot of just weird stuff.
Weird stuff. That's a good way to put it.
But you can't tell, right? Because sometimes, especially if somebody has some charisma, they're a good orator,
Hmm.
you know, they sound very convincing and very compelling until
Yeah.
you take a time out, you pause, and you do a little digging.
Yeah. Yeah.
So any final thoughts about what you just did to everybody?
No, if anyone disagrees and believes that parthenogenesis is alive and well, just meet me in the comments and we can talk about it.
Wow, that sound like a it's like a threat. I don't know.
It's not a threat. I'm a
The
delicate little
promise.
flower.
Oh, here we go with that nonsense. That's a lie. So you doing good until you said that. Um, Carter Goodson wants to know if you got that Cash App,
I
sis.
do not have a Cash App.
Okay. How about a PayPal? No.
Yeah, I have a PayPal. I actually don't know what it is.
Oh wow. Okay.
um, yeah. Sorry, I don't even know what it is.
But you can subscribe to the new.
Hmm.
Right? She actually does have a channel, so believe it or not. So, what can we expect next from Miss D New?
Well, we have a. Can I talk about this? We have that bodega special
Yes,
coming
yes, you
up
can. Yes, you
uh,
can.
on the 16th, I believe it is.
Yep.
We are going to do a year in review of the UA. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be laughter. It's going to be a lot of jokes. And this is going to be the first Bodega Friday. Is it a Friday that we said?
Yes, it's gonna be on
Okay.
a
It's
Friday.
going to be a Bodega Friday. So we haven't had one of those in a while. And then it will be the last one of 2022. So
Yep.
come one, come all.
Yep. Should be a hoot.
Hmm.
So now, when you're in these Facebook streets and you hear the Black Woman is God, you now have a resource that you can now refer to. Just give them the link and let D New do what she does best. Headshots. Bang. All right. So with that being said, yeah, okay. D New and BK signing off. Peace.